goes along. So thank you very much and welcome to this experimental space of spacious solidarity dialogues. Ika, Nisa, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you, Aditi. Thank you, everyone, for joining us in this space. And yeah, this one is really excited because what we talked before is kind of online fishbowl. So I think it will be great to have all of you also to join our conversation. So it's not only about me and also Isa. So yeah, Isa, what are we going to talk about for the first
Do we want to start with the context?
with the
I think that
context?
that's something that you wanted to address.
Yeah, talking about, yeah, I think that's gonna be a good start to start the conversation because as we know in the title, we have two different type or format, like I'm coming from the hotline, and then you have a doula background. So context, yeah. I'm gonna start with my experience and my context, and then I think you can uh, follow to share yours.
Yeah, we will
Um,
chat. We will chat.
yeah, yeah. So context of in Indonesia, or I don't know. I'm not saying Indonesia situation will represent like the situation that happened in like Southeast Asia, because in Southeast Asia we have like a very different um, background, a very different situation. Like in Thailand, in Philippines, they all have like a very different situation. Even we are coming like from the region in Southeast Asia, but in Indonesia, I think the context that uh, what we feel right now, that is currently becoming uh, a bigger problem. I mean, before it is a problem, but then we feel that it is actually uh, getting bigger because of, yeah, it was when COVID pandemic is happened. Like we have no access on sexual and reproductive health. We have a very restricted law regarding the access of like contraceptive, or like even for sex education. So maybe just like any other country where a very strong patriarchal perspective becoming like the main like enemy of all of the restriction. Yeah, in Indonesia we feel that, even I mean in Indonesia, about the abortion law, we actually have a law that regulate abortion, but it's only for under two indication, like only for saving women's life or for rape victim. But until today, even we already have that regulation for like um, maybe like 5 years, we never had that law. We can never access that law. So and then in the culture, like we don't really talk about sex. We don't really talk about uh, everything that is like not even like sex education, but many thing is like in taboo when we are coming into public. Like it's not polite to talk about these things. Not polite to talk about that you have an unplanned pregnancy and unintended pregnancy. It's so taboo to talk about where to go if then I already active. I'm already being active in a sexual uh, like I already have a sexual intercourse or any other else. It's so taboo to talk about that. So it's it even become how to say, like for the young people, it's even becoming more difficult to know even what then if their body is not like yeah, their menstrual is late for like uh 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, they don't know where to go, like even yeah, as like what the government always say, the government providing the access, provide the information or like the service in the small clinic, but because of the strong stigma, and also we still have a really big taboo uh, cover with the religion uh, norm that is still strongly held by people, most of people in here. So yeah, the hotline then we in Samsara then see it as a situation where um, there probably people will still also feels not okay like to talk about their situation directly. And then so yeah, the hotline like in Samsara uh, is established, founded by Ina in 2008, and then yeah, to talk about this issue, to talk about the
Just
sexual
just talk about,
reproductive health. Yeah, just
we are the
actually,
people who want to talk about this.
yeah, so it's
Yeah,
actually
it is normal.
becoming the first thing is like talking about that openly, but still yeah, we know the situation of our country. Yeah, I think that's for
Yeah,
my context.
yeah.
How about you?
It's it's a little bit funny that you say that just the hotline a space to talk about these things, because that's exactly it, right? It's where you meet the people who need this type of information, but coming from someone that you can trust, that feels also comfortable saying all these things, because you, of course, you can have a lot of information on the internet, but do I trust that information? Who's the person texting this information or drafting this information? And I think that's the whole spirit of acompañantes and doulas and the hotlines in general. And my context is, well, I'm not living in Venezuela anymore, but when I was part of the local hotline, I faced like the same levels of stigma. There were so many little organizations willing to talk about these topics and willing to give people information, which is their right. And I think it's getting worse every time, because after the legislation was approved here in Argentina, all the other countries started, asking their decision makers if this was something that we can also talk about. And my president just said that this wasn't a priority. The legal abortion wasn't a priority. Equal marriage wasn't a priority at the moment. So yeah, it's this conversation definitely isn't a priority anywhere. Um, but it's interesting that in some countries where they started the conversation, uh, and where medical abortion and abortion in general is a right, and it's a service that you can get, maybe not in an easy way, but you can get, and it's your right. The conversation tends to be a little bit more medical, uh, whereas our context is a little bit more of the like a support network. We are not necessarily in the side of the medicalization of abortion, even though we work with medical evidence and we have a lot of background and training around it, because we have to provide safe information. But that is something that interests me about our context, and even though it is a little bit restrictive and a lot restrictive in some other settings, um, you have so many people willing to organize themselves voluntarily. And I know people had questions on costs on the hotlines, and in some cases you just start with the resources that you have. um, and and that means you have zero budget to do your activities, but that is also valid. um, I kind of got lost
Yeah, but
on the
there's one
question.
thing that
Now
you mentioned about the medical. I just want to jump into your uh, talk before it about
yes, yes, yes,
the
please.
medical uh, the medicalization, or like the
Yeah,
issue around the medical.
yeah,
We actually also feels that how to say, like, because in our hotline we have like so many people accessing, asking about, yeah, their reproductive health situation. They're asking if they had an unplanned pregnancy, if they want to do abortion, what choices that they actually have. And what we actually also, our position is on, okay, when you choose to do abortion, then you actually can do it by yourself, like with the self-managed abortion. We can provide you with information. We can accompany you during the counseling, or even when you had when you done with your abortion, or you need some other information after your abortion is done, because that's how our hotline is work. Like, we uh, provide the information first, and then uh, in the term when they are already had all of the information that they need, then they can choose what method, or even what decision that they want to have with their
yeah,
pregnancy. And then, yeah, and then if you want to do the self-managed abortion, it's we are here. I mean, the hotline will be here to help and accompany you with yeah, because sometimes then people still like calling, or like text, sending text to asking about the situation during the abortion. And the thing about the medical, how to say, like, the medical field is, yeah, in my experience, it's really hard, like, to even share to the medical uh public, like the professional association, like for the OBGYN, or like for the healthcare provider, that uh the method of self-managed abortion is a method that is recommended by the WHO, or another OBGYN association. But still, like, what, no, because in Indonesia, we still uh using or recommend people to have a dilatation, like the curetas, the DNC. And we are now starting to being familiar with the vacuum aspiration, both for manual or
uh-huh.
electric. So it's then the next thing is like the self-managed abortion. So it's that's why we yeah, collaborating with so many colleagues, like Ibis Reproductive Health or every other organization. Like, we gain generating so many evidence on that. At least if then the public don't want to, how to say, like, to acknowledge that there is a method that can be performed by every people by their own. They are prepared by self-assessment tools, like knowing what happened after they took the pills, and what symptoms happen, what is the reaction, and so on. uh, at least the evidence that we generate will be useful for people, for more people who need the abortion. So
Yes,
because
yeah,
it's really hard, like, to because maybe it's always related to the legal situation, because when then we have an evidence about this many people are uh, safely using the self-managed method, and then with like not more than 1% of complication rate, and so on. But yeah, that's kind of a regime that we face in
yeah.
Indonesia. So yeah.
But also, Ika, in countries where it's legal. because look how long it took the UK to accept the self-managed abortion as something that didn't have to happen inside a clinic. So that
Yeah.
also tells you a lot about how patriarchy is definitely in the medical institutions, and that you just can't accept the fact that medical abortion and how we work, how the hotlines, how the grassroots networks work is more empowering.
Yeah.
um, and of course, you can have a lot of doctors inside of those clinics who are all for empowerment, and of course, it's your decision. But I don't know; it's not the whole institution or the whole institutions that reproduce that same framework. Yeah, that's something really interesting. It's a huge difference, um, and that's what I love about the local networks. And I want to see what happens, for example, in Argentina right now that all the people that were criminalized, they can be free as of now. They criminalization. I mean, they will. It will have a lot of other stigma will happen. Definitely, it's an ongoing work. But how I wonder, what will be the role of the local doulas, and the socorristas have so much work and have so much acknowledgement. Um, how will that now fit? It interests me, that conversation. So it doesn't turn around as, okay, now the state will be the savior of everyone. No, it wasn't legal, but that doesn't mean that there weren't spaces where it could be safe, right, before that. So yeah. that's
Yeah, but
that's very interesting.
I think we also need to acknowledge the problem about the legal. I mean, yes, we are on the way. We are on the movement where abortion should be legal, should be free, should be accessible to everyone without no restriction. But when it comes to legal, when it's come to the state, it's yeah, based on our experience, like we have the regulation about like even it is mentioned about how many weeks you are still allowed to perform abortion. It's only 6 weeks, the problem is. So it's like it's yeah, technically it can be I mean, if then the situation, the indication that you mentioned on the law is only about um to save women's life or for the rape victim, that things there's no one will could access that law because the law is so restrictive. and and yeah, knowing that the state becoming, yeah, providing or fulfilling the right that they're supposed to do, because as the state need to do that. But yeah, I think um I mean, I'm just imagining that even so the state already like providing all the access, there are, we also need to check about um how about the quality of the service that the state provide,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
Because
definitely. Yeah. And those the in Spanish we call them causales. I think I don't if someone can support me here, how would the term be in English? Those
exceptions.
causes, that the exceptions, yes, those exceptions that you were mentioning, Ika. I feel like mm, there's somehow like a Trojan horse. Like, yeah, we'll give you this, but it still be so restrictive. I noticed that there are several comments in the chat, and I haven't read them
Yeah,
fully. But feel free to open up your mics. I will
yeah.
love to hear you. I think
I think
Karen.
there's one question also about yeah, it's from Karen. Some are losing income, home. Yeah.
Karen, do you want to speak, or let me see? I can open the chat.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, perfect. Hi, Karen.
Hi. I just was following the conversation about, um, the patriarchy making it hard for people to get information and to access the pills and manage their abortions at home. And I mean, I just always wonder about um, resistance within the abortion community, simply because some people's, they've spent their whole lives uh, making their living and their work to operate clinics. And so I wonder if the financial well-being of clinics, maybe there's some resistance there to the spread of self-managed abortion. I'm not sure. So just if you could comment on that, just the capitalistic aspect, and on top of patriarchy.
Yeah, that's such an interesting question because it also leads you to how's their sustainability model, right? Are they dependent only on the services they are providing, or are they also seeking for a little bit of external financing? Um, and in the US, it's really interesting because some, like, the abortions can be so expensive in the clinics, right? Like $100 or something like that, which is, it's a lot. But
Oh, it's more than that. It can be overwhelming. And then, um, yeah, and I don't know enough to understand the business model and all the expenses that they incur. I do know that security, a lot of them have to pay for security because there's protesters and everything. So
mm,
it's, I know that it's complicated, but it's just a piece of the
mhm.
puzzle. Is we want it'd be ideal to find a way for everyone to be able to provide abortion care in all the ways that people want them. But right now, just getting access is so important. So anyway,
Yes, and where are they also getting the medicines? Um, the, with a lot of FDA restrictions, and can you get a lot of affordable medicines in the US? There are a lot of other pharmaceutical labs around the world. Um, so yeah, that's a very interesting conversation. Ika, what do you think about the affordability? Like, does it also relate to the Indonesia context?
Yeah, I get the point to what Karen mentioned about it's all also questioned by the medical or clinic or people who works in the clinic about the possibility of losing income and about the capitalistic perspective on our health system. That's yeah. In Indonesia, it's I can relate to what Karen's saying about why, and then people in the clinic are so resistant with the every evidence that we have, let's say, or even there are so many research or evidence already shown regarding the self-managed abortion, but still there is resistance from the medical side. One of them I could say that that is one maybe that is one reason why people in the clinics, because in Indonesia, people can actually go to the clinic, to some certain clinics to have abortion, but they have like what happens in the US, like you have to pay like uh hundreds dollars, and it's so expensive. It can only access by the privileged class. So it's yeah, it's kind of in the middle of I don't know. I don't want to be agree that the government not knowing about this, like that there are many clinics are open and uh, can perform abortion in the clinic. But yeah, it's about the health system in Indonesia, I guess, that also become one of the background why the resistance about the self-managed abortion is still so high. So that becoming one of our homework in the network, because I saw some of my colleagues in the network in Indonesia are coming in this session. So uh yeah, I think yes, this is one of the part of the resistance from the medical side. But I just want to like uh, connect to another um, question that already sent to us before about then why this strategy, then why we choose this strategy. I mean, as a doula, as a hotline, or like the strategy of accompaniment. What, Isa, maybe you want to share about the why, or
Why
what
do we
are the
choose?
strategies, or what the strategy of accompaniment?
Yeah, I definitely think it has to do with a lot of the feminist work that a lot of these advocates do. You know, even though it's a health related matter, not seen as only a medical uh, service and situation, but a matter of reproductive autonomy. We were deciding on our bodies. And I think that the essence of the strategy that we do, that we choose, um, and reproductive autonomy doesn't. It's all about your decision. It's about your decision, and whether you want to continue with a pregnancy or not, and what that means in your life. Um, so considering that, and from that perspective, you just need to to choose the best way to um, to not just reinforce, but to let that person know that the decision is okay, that they are the only ones who are 100% sure about the best route of action or the best path for their lives. And also the focus on care. I think uh, because we're advocates, the group care, community care is also so important, is core in our work, because it's an exhausting job to try to set up the agenda in another direction, to try to fight patriarchy so it doesn't affect us and continues to marginalize people in society. So it only makes sense that we work with the strategies that we use. We provide remote care. It this I would say are the most relevant experience for exploring and improving telemedicine services. You know, the work that abortion doulas and accompanying acompañantes in
Accompaniment.
Spanish do. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, the question is what are strategy of accompaniment used by activists in your country? And in I think yeah, it could be happen like in a simultaneous way. Yes, we can be in the movement where uh we enforcing the law to becoming more progressive, but also we need to highlight that um, the there are there will be many people who need the access and the service that we also need to
Oh, mhm.
yeah, we need to provide the service and access for them, so we cannot like uh in terms of strategy we cannot then only choose to, yeah, we are in the movement to make the law is happening in this uh, situation, but then we are not working on the service that I think in this situation is the most important thing, because then how to say, in my opinion, then how can we giving the the evidence, like if then we are working to advocating the law in the country, if then we don't have like, even we don't work with the people, with the women who needs abortion. So yeah, I think one thing that inspire me a lot is about, yeah, we we need to find, or we need to build the bridge between the law, like in the movement, if you're talking about the law, because right now in many countries we have so many updates that happen regarding the law of abortion. But then when we seeing back in let's say in Indonesia, in my country, then we not really on that kind of progressive if regarding the law, but at least we have the, not at least we believe that with the network that we have, like the abortion network in our country, it could yeah, it could bridge, or it could really providing the service that the woman needs, because then other than that we will like let uh, the most marginalized group will be yeah, just left, and no one will care about that. I think if, yeah, if then talking about the
Yeah,
strategies,
both. Yeah, both sides of the coin. I
yeah,
like, what do you do with all the people? What do we do with the people that need the service right now, and just their context won't allow them to access the support they need? Yeah,
yeah,
I see that, um just being there, right, as as a strategy of accompaniment, just being there and letting the person know that there is someone they can talk to. um it's so important for these networks, for a lot of the people that need those services. And
yeah, and
it needs to happen right now. You said something that is key, like we can't just wait until
yeah,
someone tries to fix something. It needs to
yeah,
happen right now,
yeah,
because even when there's something, there's an important change, then you will see also this internal fight for power, and they just will push their agendas instead of reaching out to the people who are already doing the work at a grassroots level. Mm,
yeah,
hmm. What are
and
people saying
it's,
in the chat? Oh, there's a question for you, Ika.
yeah, it's a
Mhm.
question about doula, because yeah, in Indonesia, not many people having a profession in doula, but uh there will I'm so positive about this. I mean, there will always be um a possibility to having this, because yeah, in samsara we don't actually, yeah, because what the method that we are um share to the client who call us self-managed abortion, so they will like assessing uh, everything that expel from their abortion, and then what will they do with their product of conception, and then uh, how then they need, if they need to go to the healthcare or not. So we really, in the self-managed portion that we share in the hotline, we really encourage every people to yeah, have their own day. I mean, we then uh, beside them, and then we remind them that they have the capacity, after they have the information, after they have all of the counseling that they need. But yeah, then if then a doula, if the question if it is possible or not to work with doula, I think um, it is it's very possible to do, because what we have today in Indonesia, we work with the midwife, but we refer for some like if then there is our client who need any healthcare service regarding their reproductive health, or if they need to have an ultrasound, or they need to have a post-abortion care, then we refer to the midwife. But I mean, not in a direct situation where the abortion is happening for each person. So yeah, we need to give it a try. I mean, to work with doula. Um, yeah, knowing with, I mean, if then um, in the public, we always see that doula is only for helping people, pregnant people, to during their labor. But yeah, it's, I think it's a very possible uh, thing, and very possible collaboration to do uh, in Indonesia and my side.
Yeah. Um, and if I might add something, not necessarily about the Indonesia context, but about the doula work, it's in the difference between only providing information and also accompanying the person throughout the process. And there's a lot of training around stigma that you do, because the perceived stigma and how people are dealing with that in their lives it can be a little bit awful. I once had I once was with a person that had this um, like imaginary that a, a baby, like a ghost baby, would be making her accountable after her death. No, if she does the medical abortion. So damn, like how do you do that in a in a consultation? And like, if you're a doctor, if you're only providing the service, how do you deal with that? You need like a space where you can talk about these things, and just have some tools for the person to to reflect on these things. And it's not just a physical thing, it's something about the mental care of that person, because it's so stigmatizing for so many people. Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's a very integral
yeah,
work that doulas do.
but do you think, what about the pressure, like for the emotional responsibility that
Oh, that's yes.
like from doula, or maybe like on my side from hotline, what do you think then, how the doula like then face the pressure of the emotional responsibility?
there's there's so many pressure in many senses, not just like the emotional part of the process, but also the timing of the situation. Sometimes you're like, I need this person to reply as soon as possible, because I'm not trained to support them after a certain period of time. But honesty and transparency always helps. That's key, and that allows the person to have all the information. Like, okay, this is not someone that like I need to have a lot of information myself, a lot of responsibility. um, and the thing about these emotional pressures, it yeah, it can be easily, I think you can be easily drawn to the emotions and the sentiments of the other person. And yeah, that's empathy, but the your training and the conversations that you need to have with your team have to go around, okay, let's talk about this. And it, of course, it will affect me. I mean, I can't tell that person that a ghost baby won't be, you know, held in her accountable. I can't say that to the person. That it's a thing about beliefs. um and but I can maybe give them some tools or ask her what would they say, you know, to the ghost baby if she actually faces the ghost baby. What would you say? And expressing, what would you express to, if you have to apologize or if you have to explain your reasons. um, and the pressure, yeah, to not getting, um, to not feeling what the person is feeling, to not feeling that same level of pressure. Of course, you're not dealing with the decision. You're not the person carrying out that decision, but some things are can be so traumatic to some people that you just have that. It's one of the risks. It's one of the risks, but it's also, you know, other works have a lot of risks as well. Like, it's just one of the risks that you have to deal with, and your support network will be there for you to talk about these things. And if you have to cry, just cry. That's completely okay. um uh I don't know what other pressures have you felt.
Yeah, yeah, because maybe because in the hotline we're not meet or seeing the person that we talk like in a direct way, so it's sometimes it give us pressure like to, I mean, when we are meet in person, then we know how to reach them when maybe after receive information from us, how to reach them, like giving a hug, maybe like holding their hand. But then when it's happened with the phone, with the text, we sometimes lost in the uh, translating, like the intonation maybe from the client. We don't really know about their actual situation, and then that could help us to provide like, okay, what and how we can provide you with the information that we have regarding the, like the medical abortion, regarding that your situation. So I think the emotional, I mean, the pressure and the emotional responsibility could be like happen in a very different way, because it's yeah,
Hmm.
meet meeting in person and then with call and or like text to one client, maybe like in a series of text message or in a series of call. So yeah, and even we 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 are running the hotline, even we can like also absorbing every
Hmm.
emotional situation that the client have, right? So it's not that, okay, it's easier if we are using the hotline or easier to use the phone or the text. No, it's still give the same pressure and also emotional responsibility, because we need to be there for them. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you
yeah.
do you Ika, do you work, like, do the counselors or the people in your network, like, do you deal with the clients one by one, or sometimes you just rotate and have like several people supporting the same person?
we sometimes have so like one client could be supported by one counselor, but also sometimes could be like more than one counselor in the hotline. I'm actually have some colleagues from some Sarah here, or even from other network in from Indonesia. So please feel free to share about the experience accompanying abortion through the hotline, because yeah, it's for me it's really different, like to really catch the exact emotion that the people show during the counseling.
Yeah, and that you just sometimes just can't know, and you feel you feel that by the way they're speaking, they're saying some things. Should I leave like a window open for them
Yeah,
to just go in depth with some things, or what does what do they need at the moment? But I was thinking that having your team working with the same person also helps so much, and this is something that that might be useful. Also, the tools that Karen sent, I think Karen sent some tools there. They are amazing. Karen, all the resources that you have in your website are great. um uh having the team, it it kind of relieves some of that pressure, because you can talk with your team about it. You can just go to what they are thinking as well. What do you think? What should we do? Do you have any resources for them that I can share? That relieves so much pressure as well. uh, yeah, because you don't like, oh, what do I do?
yeah,
What do I do just by myself? And that's just not, and it's not the essence of the support network. Just working with the team,
yeah,
it's key. Yeah, and talking
yeah,
about those cases, I think that when you're not on the same page with your team, that sometimes can happen as well, in
yeah,
regards to this, even the same level of information, because you can say have a lot of knowledge on how misoprostol works, but maybe a lot of your team members don't know a little bit on misoprostol, or after a certain number of weeks and so on. So it's also important to come and try to meet everyone at the same level, to have to yeah, to be on the same page. It's an exercise. I know it's a difficult exercise sometimes, but it's key.
yeah. And it's and because what we face, the client that we have like a very different story and situation. Each of them, they have their own unique situation, so it's
Yeah,
sometimes okay, this approach might be not working for the previous one, but could be work for this one, and what happened with
yeah,
the next one, and then yeah, yeah, I'm so grateful to having all of my team in the hotline, and another network to support us, because sometimes we also refer like I don't think we can provide the service that the client needs, so we need to refer them to another network or like another provider. We also build that kind of referral and network, so that yeah, because maybe not all people who come or call us fit with the information or fit with the method that we want to share to them. So sometimes people want to have a surgical, and then
yeah, yeah.
okay, we can refer you to this place and this place. Amalia is sharing something. One of my Amalia is one of my colleagues. Hi, Amalia. It's like,
Hi,
share-
Amalia.
or
Do
you
you
want
want to speak
to
your mic?
share to open your mic, Amal.
Hi, Ika. Hi, Isabel. Thank you so much. I'm really happy listening to both of you because I really feel what you've been discussing about. Like, yeah, I feel that too. Like, and I also feel it's something we check into each other. within our solidarity network, I think it's also a gesture of a solidarity. I think it's really make us stronger.
Yes.
Yes, that's true.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
agree.
Yes. Yes.
Like we are real people and listening to real story as well. So it's like, yeah, it's so. I was like so chilling here because of the conversation. Yeah, it's really yeah, having uh many colleagues in the same level. Maybe we have like different approach, but then we have the same goal. We have the same dream. We have the same uh way to reach uh the dream that we want to be in the country. It's real. I mean, yeah, like we cannot, I mean, in our experience we cannot deny the whole thing that happened in ourselves, as let's say like as counselor, as supporter, as accompanier, acompañantes. Sorry.
Acompañante.
Yeah, it's
Let's just
it's
use it in
it's,
Spanish.
it's yeah. We cannot like deny all the thing that happens to us, but in the same, not in the same time. I mean, we need to acknowledge what happened to us personally. That's why the discussion about self love, self care in the network, it's so common to be happen in our discuss in everyday discussion, because yeah, it's the story will be changed like every day, like with thousands of people who call us. They have very there is no stories the same, and the approach could be can also be different from one to another. Even the information that we want to share is the same. I mean, we have a referral of information about the protocol, about the doses, but when we meet a different person with a different story, we just can like, okay, what you want is this, then this is the information, this is how you uh this is what you need to prepare and how you perform abortion and so on. But yeah, we will like listen to their story. We will feel all of the situation that they are holding and so on. So yeah.
Yeah, and also I'd say that this the how you work with your team, it's your safety network as well, right?
Yeah.
This brings me to the case. I think I shared that with the inroads community. Yeah, I did. I sent you the article. An advocate from my country, Vanessa Rosales, was also imprisoned recently for supporting and for giving information, which is the right for everyone. Um, and everyone just, once these things happen in restrictive settings, you just, all your support network just jumps in. Like, what can we do? How are we moving? You're not alone. We will fight all of these things together. Um, so yeah, the act of solidarity you were saying, Amalia, it, it's not only for the person you're supporting, but also for your team members. Whole, yeah, it's integral. Yeah.
Yeah.
What mm, I wanted to ask if someone wanted to share something in the mic.
There were some questions in the chat. I saw from Amy. I saw something from Leslie as well. So yeah, and anyone else who wants to jump in. I'm just keeping track of the questions because there's a lot happening in the chat.
Yeah.
So Amy,
Yeah. There
Leslie,
is a
or
question from Amy, if in their country, if menstrual health equity and access to products has increased, or even conversation around menstruation has increased. Yeah. mm, I mean, I want to respond this. I mean, yeah, it always I mean, I think we we need to make the conversation more open, more and more free, of course, in the safe space like to talk about the whole thing that is still on taboo, because if then we kind of jump or like skip those conversation, and then we won't be able to start to work with the stigma. Because yeah, it is I mean, in my experience, like even people talk about their menstruation is still so, like not many people want to talk about their menstrual cycle, let's say, or what product that they can have, uh, what is the advantage of using this product and other products. But then um a menstrual shaming, I'm not sure that's the right term that people are using right now. But yeah, people are still like you kind of shaming. So try to shame every people who got their menstruation during their menstruation, who are uh like getting irritated easily, or so there is a kind of a really common joke, a very sexist joke that addressed to women when um, you get angry so easy, and then you say like, oh, are you on your period, and so on. But then I think the network, or like the feminist network in Indonesia, are also talk about that now, becoming in a more free conversation. Because if then we just like let the jokes happen every day, we cannot then saying that, okay, we want to reduce the stigma about this, and then uh, connect it to another bigger uh, narration on the reproductive health and so on.
Mm.
And yeah, this one also from Mel. um
Hi, Mel.
Hi Mel, do you want to share or open your mic? Wait, I'm looking for the Leslie.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Wait, let me find him. So nice to see you all. Um, I think actually I would just like to share an experience we had last week actually regarding the emotional support and ways for dealing with different perspectives. Um, so I was accompanying this woman, and she's 20 years old, uh, around 6 to 8 weeks, and she was really confident about her decision. It was not the time to have children, but we have a protocol we follow that we request all women and girls and people to get an ultrasound before we proceed. We don't have a gestational limit, but we do request the ultrasound to be able to follow the protocols, avoid ectopic pregnancies, and anyways, just make sure everything is as healthy as possible. But and sometimes we face troubles because many women don't have resources to pay for an ultrasound, or the public system is just overwhelmed, especially during the pandemic times. But and then we usually have means and ways to support them getting these resources. We have a list of friendly services, etc. But in this case, she had two issues. One was that she worked 12 hours. She works at a mall store, so she has to be standing all day, and she didn't really have time to leave for an ultrasound. But also, and then we managed to find a way to get her, I don't know, some authorization, etc. But then she revealed that she actually didn't want to get the ultrasound because she felt she was not ready to listen to any sound beats, right? Heartbeats. And we've had many issues, as I was saying before, in regards to access, but this particular question had never come to me. And it was really, we were talking on the phone, because especially for earlier weeks, we are not doing presential meetings until the moment we facilitate access to whatever needs to be facilitated. But we were talking, we had I don't know, over an hour conversation. And I did not know whether she didn't want to hear it because of religious issues, or at the time I was worried that it might be her having second thoughts. And this is something that happens quite not so often, but it does happen, right? That a woman or a girl contacts us and then decides she does not want to move forward with the abortion. And in this particular case, because we had not met in person, I was worried that it might be the case. And she was doing it with her boyfriend, who she lives with. And in these cases, we are always concerned about safety protocols, etc. And then I questioned myself whether or not I was ready to understand why she didn't want to hear the sound beats, because it also meant having to deal with the reason, right? In the end, and also because we avoid asking questions that might be judgmental, right? Because I mean, we don't necessarily need to know why a person doesn't want to listen to it, or any what reasons, right? But in this case, I felt that she wanted to share it, and I felt that she brought it for that reason. So I asked her, and she basically said she wasn't ready. And then I asked, the first question that came to my mind was, but do you want to be a mother? And she was like, yes, of course, eventually, and that's my mother's dream, and she wants to be a grandma so badly, and I feel like I disappoint her, etc., etc. And then she said, and I'm afraid this might come back as a karma, that if I have this abortion right now, I won't be able to be a mother in the future. And then I'm sharing it because I shared it with my compañeras, my friends in the network. And as Isabel was saying, that was the way I managed to deal with it. And I'm sharing with you because I also feel this is a space where we can process this kind of thoughts. But at the time when she talked about the karma fears she had, I kind of resorted to any spiritual knowledge guidance I have, which was, if you believe this is alive, right, and you don't want to hear it because this is something that will interfere with your convictions and thoughts, maybe one way to deal with it is to think that the abortion is also a decision that is part of whatever karma this is, right? I mean, maybe this particular life doesn't want to come right now and doesn't want to come in your family right now, and making this decision might be the way to make these souls wish to come true. And then I moved to the health topic, which was, if we do it safely now, right? I mean, if you get the exams, or maybe not the ultrasound, but in the end she got a blood test at least, because she only had the urine test before. If we do it safely, that increases 100% chances of you being able to experience motherhood whenever you feel like it. And it was, I don't know if that was the right approach. I mean, I don't think there is a right approach, but it did resonate with her thoughts, and it was clear from that moment on that she became a lot calmer, and she was able to also calm her boyfriend, which was worried about her not being able to cope with it. So it was a whole cycle of doubts and anxieties. And in the end, it was one of the nicest procedures we had, because it was really fast. We are talking about medicines. We are dealing with the new donation of the mifepristone, which we are acknowledging now that the ones we had might be older than we thought, and now the ones women are accessing are much more powerful and stronger, because I think they are newer, basically, and that comes down to the whole geopolitical logics of how medicines are distributed and arrive to people. But basically, this was a procedure that in after the 48 hours, in 1 hour, it was done, and I. At the time, I had so many doubts, right? I mean, what if this person isn't sure and I'm leading her to somewhere she doesn't want to go? What if the spiritual thoughts I'm bringing might be interpreted as wrong or as disrespectful by her? What if I don't know, so many what ifs. And talking to my compañeras was definitely the best way to deal with it, because we realized that in the end we are learning by every experience, right? And if we want to demedicalize procedures, if we want to prioritize women's and girls and people's individual experiences and choices, and sort of leverage these choices to the same level of scientific protocols, then we must, after we offer them the information we have, it's up to them whether or not they want to get an ultrasound, right? I mean, it's we have given all the information we had, we've shared it, and if they still don't want to go through that, they are just entitled to that choice as they would to another medical procedure. So I don't know. I just wanted to share these, and thank you again for this space, because it makes things a lot more meaningful and brighter.
Thank you so much for sharing that experience, Mel. It's it just it never ceases to impress me how, you know, you can just talk with that person from where they are at, right, where they are coming from, and that means talking about their spiritual background and making that a part of the support you're providing. And it's so human, it's so human. And yet it's like we're fighting, or we're always in this fight where that doesn't seem professional, you know, that doesn't seem like the best way to go. And it's just it I I have learned so many things as well, and just to talk about these things with my team. Even now I'm in a space where it's a little bit more distant from the counseling, but talking about what can we do and what can we offer, who can we refer to, what service can we refer this person to. It's just okay, we're also considering all of this because it's important, and it's your decision in the end. We will respect whatever decision you have. You want to continue with the pregnancy, you will be respected. You want to terminate the pregnancy, at all times you will be respected. That's just not something that we question. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mel, for telling this story. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. The story is so related to the experience, to the situation where the conversation about spirit always come. It's not
Yeah, I
always,
think
but
that
it's like there are so many question and conversation happen around the spirit actually. And
Ika, I wanted to ask you, because you were telling me that you were more focusing on research
yeah
and some of the data processing. Okay, this is so interesting. because I think all networks should have a little bit of not just support, but dedication to try to compile all the information that we work with, all the evidences, because they, we need them, and we need to all of us need to be a little bit more what we need. The solidarity comes from all the other networks around the world, and we need to share the evidence that we gather. So how do you like processing this information? Do you, what criteria do you use? Because I know that some people just work with like quantitative data, statistics, how many people use the pills, how many people had failure. So yeah, how do you?
I think both is have the same importance. Like for the quantitative, for the qualitative, we always use, actually we I don't like to use this term, but it's human learning, because if in the technology we know about the machine learning, it's a human learning, because we got so many story situation that is different from one to another, and then we are collect all the information in detail from each of the client, and then we were like using like what we found, let's say before and after the COVID, what makes different, like we can by using our own data collection, we can know how the reason of people calling us is changing, like before the COVID and after the COVID. And like talking about criteria, we actually how to say, we taking note for every detail on each client before the abortion or during the counseling and after the abortion is done. So, and the whole thing that we have from our data collection is becoming the first thing that we did with the data that we have is actually gaining so many insight that we have, that we receive during, let's say, like the earlier hotline finding to improve our hotline today. So it's actually, that's why I'm saying, let's say human learning, like we learn, keep doing the unlearn and doing all the new learning uh every month. In the hotline we have like a very intensive chat and also check in to each other, all about the client, all about the whole thing related to the client who call us. And in the bigger uh in a bigger space, like in the organization in Samsara, we then also use what we found in the hotline to support, like the media, the creative media, on what need to be published today or like on the next month. Because I think there are many clients who are coming are asking about the accuracy of the pregnancy test, let's say, like one of the funding is that. So then that finding become one input that we will use to be a publication, like in the social media or an article. Or we can then also ask uh, based on our finding in the hotline, based on people who call us, the client who call us, we will then know where to go if another client is like asking about like a healthcare service that is accessible in their location, like because both of the client are in the same location, they stay in the same region, and then we can just we can then give a recommendation based on the recommendation from our previous client. This clinic is a good place to go. So I think because talking about criteria, like uh we are kind of build and keep developing all the tracking record in the hotline, just to actually to improve our own work, so that we will then have like so many uh, reference to provide the service, because knowing that every story will come in a different uh, from a different person and different story. So
That's great. I love that. Just taking not only just to improve the service, but also like educate a lot of, of people, having socialized this information, because so many people
yeah
might have the same.
yeah because
Yeah.
then we can know, I mean, in our experience on the research, we can know that within this doses that we give, like within the protocol or doses that we give to the client, it's sometimes having a different impact, right? So that's what we record, and then um, actually one of the result of the research is I share it on the inroads, about the safety and effectiveness of accompaniment in safe abortion. That's one of the research that we already done with the IBS reproductive health. But we
Yes.
create
Oh,
our own
I have to read
database,
so many reports.
and I
So
guess
many
when we are meeting so many people, it also can give us so many lessons learned. I mean, when your experience as doula will give like another insight for our works and so on.
Yeah. I love this conversation. How are we on time, Aditi?
Yeah, like we
I think the clock has gone out of the window, and it's
It doesn't exist.
really like witnessing a conversation between two new friends and some others who are participating, like sending messages in the air. But yeah, I think we are at the time where we could ask folks to turn on their cameras if comfortable, and if anyone has questions or comments that haven't been addressed, we could do maybe 10 minutes of that and then wrap up. So if you have a question, why don't you just take the mic and share? And if for whoever's comfortable to put on their camera so we can see who all are here, that would be fine. But
Hi, Mariana, Camila. I'm seeing your faces now.
If no one is asking, can I ask something? So, because I was really interested in this conversation that we were having at the beginning about the relationship between waiting for changing the law and engaging in direct action, and like that this is usually framed as a dichotomy. So I was just, because it's usually framed as a dichotomy. So you think that those who are involved in legislative change and are doing advocacy in the parliament and so on, they are trying to change the law. And the ones who are provide services right now, they are doing something else. But I was just wondering if you see that like providing the service right now and engaging direct action is also a way to produce a different kind of law and a different kind of normative order. Because what I see, for example, what I hear when Ika says so much about the importance of gathering data and publishing this data about the kinds of models of care that you are doing, the kind of care that you are providing to people. This is about acquiring legitimacy of this model of care, which is not, and I don't see accompaniment models and the hotlines seeing themselves as something that is provisional and that's going to disappear once we change the law. Quite the opposite, right? This is something that we want actually like to inform the formal health system. So it's like we are doing something that's actually better forms of care. This is like so much more than you are already providing, even in places where it's legal. So I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about like, how do you see like the relationship of these groups with the law, a law that tries to suppress the action that you are doing, but I think that your action so much contributes for us like to envision a different kind of law that we could be living under.
Yes, no. I've gone to the point because and I think the whole effort that, and the whole example with the campaign here in Argentina, it's just like that, right? The campaign, the national campaign, has a lot of people that are coming from the socorristas. They are connected. It is connected. It cannot be different. But yeah, how do you do with the negotiations part, right? And what opposition is expecting, the some, like, for example, this mandatory periods of waiting, that they're just that we know on our own models that this is not necessary. When you just give the opportunity of that person to think on their own, they will, and they will let you know when they're ready. And most of them than not, they just have thought about this so much, and they just come when they're ready, and that's it. Like, you don't need to be that you don't need to legitimize that that lack of trust, because it's basically it. Those mandatory waiting periods are lack of trust in the person you're supporting. But I definitely agree with what you were saying, and maybe when the local networks or the grassroots doulas, the people that are providing the services, are not that connected, it speaks a lot on the political will of your feminist movement, of the people that are also pushing for the agendas and who are doing the advocacy. It talks about that, because I don't want to put like the whole pressure on the networks, because sometimes it's just the capacity is it's so restrictive. Sometimes we do this voluntarily. We don't have even funds for monitoring and evaluation, so you can compile a lot of evidences. So I'd say that definitely more about the political will of some of the other people who have more capacity and resources to push for the agendas, that they just don't reach to the people who are doing the services. That's just
Yeah, I
dropping.
want to I want to add also, not so much, because I agree with the between the direct action and engaging the law, that we cannot separate those two action and the different pathway. Like, we are working with the organization, working with the network is part of the political action. I guess I myself feels that it is our political action. It is part of our political movement. Even we work on the service, or even we work on the providing care. I mean, this cannot be seen only about, yeah, your organization providing care, so you don't need to talk about anything about the political change. You don't need to talk about all the legal status and so on, that we feel a lot in here. But yeah, this is our, I mean, this become our ground, our battleground, where we will always yeah, giving all the best that we can give to women, to people who need the care, the abortion care. But also we know that like what Mel said before, like, we need also to make the state accountable for this. So I don't think those two things need to be separate, but because this is the change that we are part of, this change that we want to be, like, we want to be in the driving force to make it happen. I mean, yeah, it's it's I'm laughing because like it's some becoming so emotional, like being rejected by the healthcare provider, like in the formal level, because of we are working with the grassroots in the grassroots organization, and it feels like okay, the legal change, the law would can only be changed by them who are like in the higher level, but it's not. The change happens every day with what we do. And I definitely, and I'm believe that what we give during our accompaniment, hotline, doula, and every method that we provide in the network, like even better with what the health system give to people actually. So yeah.